Namaskara. Welcome to another podcast for CDAO Circle, driven by Wipro. I'm Srinivasaa. I head the Wipro's Data Analytics and AI service line globally. And here I have the guest today, one of my team and the leader, Pushpa. Over to you, Pushpa.
Good day, everyone. This is Pushpa here, Pushpa Ramachandran. I head the data and decision sciences at Wipro in the world of data analytics for about 2.5 decades. Happy to have this conversation on CDAO Circle.
Thank you. Thanks, Pushpa. So today we are going to talk about productization of the data and the importance of that with respect to agentic, agent, and AI space, as we all know. So let's begin with the first question. So Pushpa, what does data productization mean for you?
An interesting question, Srini. Data has been an important asset for any organization for a fairly long time now. But if you look at what has dramatically changed over the last few years, I would say about 5 years, is how data is driving the decisions for humans and more importantly for the machines, right? With the advent of agentic AI, it becomes very, very important to feed the right data for the decisions to be coming out very right? And that's where data productization becomes very, very important. When we talk about data productization, what exactly it means? It's actually a set of curated data that's well governed with a clear purpose in mind, right? For example, if you're a bank, you want to look at data products like a data product for a retail banking, a data product for a commercial banking, right? So it could be on the business side or it could be on a function side as well, right? For example, if you're a marketing group within the bank, you may want to have a data product that focuses on the customer, right? Or you may want to have a data product that is focused on risk, and that could be on credit risk, or if it is about products, it could be in market risk, right? So each one of these data sets that are very well governed to deliver the expected outcome for a functional area or for a business unit, that becomes a data product. And it is very, very important given the current trend in terms of how decisions are being driven more through the data, and more importantly, compliances are also driving this adoption.
Fair point. While we talk about data productization, the data products could also be a dashboard, could also be a join between two tables, based on how the consumption happens from the business user or the tech user of the data in itself. So very well put, Pushpa. Now moving on to the next question, there were days when I started my career in data, availability of data for all the decisioning, for all the analytics in itself was a big challenge, and it was a big topic of its own nature. Yeah. As we moved on, it was just not about availability of data. The quality of data becomes even more important. Now, especially in the agentic world, when we talk about, it's just not about availability of data. It's just not about quality of the data. It's now the trust of the data, right? Trust in the data. So what, in your word, mean when we say the trustable data or a trustworthy data? How would you define that?
A great question again, Srini, right? The data quality was always an important aspect, right? When you are taking decisions based on the data. But what becomes even more important now in a more agentic and more compliance-driven world is going one step ahead, thinking about the data provenance, right? Where you have a bidirectional traceability of where the data that you have used for taking the decision has come from, what transformations it went through, and more importantly, who is the ultimate owner of the data, right? I was talking about banks, so I'll probably build on top of that. Today, the regulations like BCBS, say the specific class of 239, it wants the CFO of the organization to certify the data. How will they be able to do that? It's very important for the CFOs to have that confidence that at any point of time, they can look at where the data came from, what are all the transformations the data has gone through, and more importantly, who has certified the data. So all of these things becomes very, very important, and that's what we call it as trust, right? As a business owner, if you are going to take a stance based on a particular data, you need to be in a position to trust the data end to end. And that's where the trustworthiness of the data comes as an important aspect. Well, data quality is a technical aspect to look at it, but there is a more important business aspect to it in terms of the governance of the data. And that's together creates the trustworthiness of the data products.
So moving on from a trustworthiness or trust in the data, especially when we look at if the trust is now established in the data that is made available for an agentic process or an AI outcome in itself. The question then is how effective will this data be leveraged? And for that effectiveness of the agentic process in itself, the question then becomes about the semantics of that particular data. When we talk about semantics, then it becomes taxonomy of the data. You talk about taxonomy, then it becomes lineage of the data. And ultimately, it falls upon the metadata in itself. Now, having been in the industry for this long, I understand the challenges of creating the metadata for a data that exists, which is so desperate in the organization. So what's your take on this whole 9 yards between metadata all the way to semantics?
There are two aspects. When we started the conversation, with in the agentic AI world, how important the data is. But there is also the other side of the coin. You can leverage AI and agentic AI to get your data to that level that we have talked about, right? Creating the trustworthiness of the data at a certain level by imbibing all these aspects of data lineage, measuring the data quality, as well as in terms of creating the metadata. For example, I'll talk about one of our customers. I may not name the customer, but this is a customer who is a large conglomerate, but the particular thing that we were doing is for their energy division. They had this problem. I have plenty of products that I source for my operations. And I have a lot of information about where I'm sourcing from, what are the configurations of the products, what are the specifications that comes along with it, etc. But the data has been spread in multiple systems, right? When they wanted to create an unified view of that, you know what we did? We leveraged AI to create a business glossary and a business metadata. And while doing that, it's very, very important when you're doing it for the first time for an organization to get this vetted by a human. So we kept a human in the loop. You are very well familiar with these MDM processes, right? So we made the entire maker process an AI-driven process, an agentic AI system created the maker process, and we had a human in the loop for approving those information about the products, their configurations, their suppliers, etc. And that created the foundation layer for building on top of it, right? So this is just one example in terms of how can you leverage AI to bring in that trustworthiness. And if you look at, we have not only created a metadata, which is technical, but we also created a business metadata. And more importantly, we also created an evidence of where this data came from, right? The traceability of the data, the data lineage is something also that has been created. So that's the beauty of AI and data coexisting, right? So you can leverage AI for data creation, and a well-curated data is important for agentic AI. So it's a loop that can work very well in this agentic world.
So what you're basically saying is there is a big play for data for AI, and you could potentially use AI to improve the data in itself.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So what would be your one or a two advice for the CDOs or the CDAOs of our customers or potential customers or your peer groups in terms of where should they start when they have to look for getting their data ready for the agentic world, because that's where the world is moving. We are not there yet, but that's where we are moving. So if we have to prepare now, right, and start preparing now, what would be your 2-3 advices to the peer group?
First one could be a bit controversial from a technology person.
That's the whole purpose.
Don't start with your data. Start with the process or start with the business problem that you want to solve. And then go look for the data. That would help you solve the problem. This helps in two ways. One, you have a sponsorship from the business to solve the problem, right? And then it becomes much more easier for you to go get the appropriate level of details around the problem that is in hand and how it can be solved, right? With the buy-in from the business. Second, starting with data has been the thing that the world has been doing for many, many decades now, right? All of us know the world of data warehouse, the world of data marts, the world of lake houses, the world of big data. And did we get the enough buy-in from the business? Many a times, no. But this is a time when you can actually create a business impact. So start with the business problem and try to solve the data problem associated with that business process. And that way, you can incrementally build your data foundation. And another aspect is, this is something that we have done an internal assessment as well by talking to about 300 odd CDOs. The outcome was only 14% of the organizations have their data foundations ready. So if you want to build a data foundation first and then move forward, it's going to take enormous amount of time for you. And by the time you might have missed the bus. So it is great for those 14% of the organization to look at data upwards, but for the majority of them, it is important to look process downwards. So that's an approach I would recommend. And in fact, that has beautifully worked for quite a few of our customers. I generally find CFOs, CHROs, and the supply chain officers or the procurement officers to be the first movers to come forward and talk about let us leverage agentic AI to solve a particular business problem, because they have plenty of problem in hand today, especially in these um, changing world where there are new dynamics from the business point that comes up. It's very, very important to start from the business angle. And these are the three most impacted personas within the organization that are very keen on adopting this approach.
So thank you, Pushpa. That was very insightful in terms of sharing your experiences, not just your experiences, but also some of our customer experiences that you shared. I hope it was valuable for our customers. With that, thank you.
Thank you.
So we spoke a lot today around all the way from agentic and AI to that of the processes, to that of data products, to that of quality and that of the metadata, and even the basic bare minimum data preparation. Now the question is, where do we begin? Some of the experiences that you heard, we always begin, or we have seen customers begin by taking a process and walking all the way from top to bottom. Where would you begin? Explore. We will explore these topics more and many of the other topics as we go forward in this Spotify and in this video blogs. Thank you.